Call this meeting, regular city council, December 17, 2019, at 7 p.m. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I have two. One's for the Christmas party, and then the second one's for fire department personnel.
Is it this one?
No.
You just want under new business?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other additions to the agenda?
I need a 30-minute executive session.
What?
Non-elect personal matters.
Don't you have enough of them
Well, one's for you guys, one's for Alan, and then mine's 3 minutes.
Right. Any other additions to the agenda?
there? So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Do we have any citizens' comments this evening?
I'm not on the agenda.
No, that's some more citizens' comments coming.
I just wanted to maybe fill you in a little bit from the Ministerial Association work with some of the utility expenses that people are having. I don't know how many of you are aware of what the Ministerial Association does. I serve as the Assistant Treasurer for the St. John Ministerial Alliance. And my wife and I moved here 3 years ago, and even though I'm retirement age, as you can tell by my hair, I volunteered for a number of community services, and that's one of them. But the Alliance, of course, is headquartered over at the Sandy Lynn Shepherd Center, and it's long provided financial assistance to St. John residents, primarily to help pay for some of the utility bills when needed. In calendar year 1998, we provided $3,026.35 to 17 residents. And in the current year to date, we have provided a total of $3,179.80 to 22 residents. So over $6,000 just in the last 2 years. Some of those that we've assisted have been assisted in both years. So there's some duplication in those numbers. But as I observed these transactions and visited with various recipients, I became convinced that we had some issues that we need to address. It's become obvious that decent rental homes with affordable rent payments were difficult for some of our low-income residents. And it's also become clear that some of the rental homes have high utility bills when outside temperatures drop below freezing or when summer heat soars above 100 degrees. But another reality is that the charity bucket of the Ministerial Alliance is small. And we were just getting dollars from the churches, and we're limited what we can do, so we've had to cut back on the amounts, basically to $150 max at any one time. What we need, I feel, are some of the state and federal funds to help out. I served in community and economic development up in the northwest corner of the state for 18 counties a number of years, and also in Barton County before I retired. And I knew of several programs, but we weren't accessing them here. So I started chasing around and trying to find out where some of those programs are. And we, in the ministerial group, we met with a couple of officials more than once. One, Dustin Costello, who is with the Department for Children and Families out of the Wichita office. and also with the Max Pierce with the Mid-Kansas Community Action Program in Augusta, Kansas. And out of that, we've been identifying what some of those funds may be that would help us. One of the programs, I think, is the Kansas Weatherization Assistance Program, which could weatherize homes of low-income occupants, both owners and renters, who qualify without cost to either, if they qualify for the program. Of course, once the weatherization work is completed, our goal is to see lower utility bills that can be paid by occupants with no financial assistance being needed. I'm presently working with 3 clients who are filling out the appropriate weatherization application forms. I've mailed one in this morning. This program is under the South Central Kansas Economic Development District out of Bel Air and also out of Hutchinson. But they cover the whole state from Missouri to Colorado, basically 2 or 3 counties deep. So they cover a large area. And Stafford County just happens to be one of those. It appears to me that from what I saw with the application I sent in this morning, I think that this is an older couple. They have 3 persons living in the house, and the income guidelines looks like that they would be eligible. But it's going to take about 45 days for the initial paperwork review to be done. You know, government programs do take time, I can tell you that from experience. And, so actual work wouldn't be done until the spring or summer, but hopefully, if this home does qualify and work is done, the homeowner should not require financial assistance next winter. That would be our goal. So I'm trying to use a goal of about 10 or 12 of these, if we can get them in the mill and have a lot of work done this summer. I think it'd be very beneficial. And I'm sure you're aware that Stafford County is an economically deprived area with a poverty rate of 14.5% compared to 12.8% for the state. And out of the 105 counties, Stafford County ranks 76th. So a large percentage of our citizens are living in poverty, and that's a real challenge for a lot of us. So at any rate, I did something I just did on my own this last summer. I began a housing survey in St. John and using information available from the Stafford County Appraiser's Office. And so I began documenting information on all the properties within the city that are listed as residential properties. I did find some interesting statistics. And first, there are 634 single-family residences in the city. 100 of these properties, or 15.7%, have valuations of less than $15,000 and probably aren't suitable for human habitation in the present conditions. Another 130 of those residential properties, or 20.4%, have valuations ranging from $15,000 to $30,000. So quite a number of these appear to be vacant. And another 122 houses have valuations ranging from $30,000 to $50,000. So altogether, 352 of the residential properties have valuations of less than $50,000, and that's actually 55.5% of the homes in St. John. And I know as I visited around a little bit too, I found that some of the people who have moved here have had a hard time finding property to buy or to rent, but even to buy, it's a very tight market. So we have a lot of work to do. When I started looking at some of the other numbers, I was able to document that there were 27 residential property owners who owned 2 or more residential properties other than their own home. So 27 times 2 That's 54 homes. And some of those, I know personally, are vacant for various reasons, but they're not being made available to renters or buyers. And many of the vacant properties would need renovation and come up to city code before they could be made available. As I've done my homework, I'm aware of the city has a good code for residential housing. Under Article 11, it deals with the rental property standards of housing, and it provides minimum standards to safeguard life or limb, health, property, and public welfare by regulating and controlling the use and occupancy and maintenance of all residential buildings that are not occupied by the owner thereof. And I know also that Article 5 of the code calls for a public officer to inspect any structure which appears to be unsafe, dangerous, or unfit for human habitation, and to report all structures which he or she believes to be dangerous, unsafe, or unfit for human habitation to you, the governing body. And then Section 4-502, so Section A, contains this definition: public officer meets the city superintendent or his or her authorized representative. It's my understanding that consideration is being made to carry out this provision of getting someone to do some of that inspection work, and I encourage you gentlemen to do so. I know there's some rental homes that would not pass your building code. I know I purchased one myself and did an extensive renovation, and so I know there's several that would not. One of the things that disturbs me a lot, I guess, is that maybe I've got too soft a heart, but it bothers me a lot to know that there's some renters here in this community right now with this colder weather that really have inadequate heating in their homes. In some cases, it may be unsafe. In some cases, it involves children, and we need children in our school systems to get the funding we need. It's based on enrollment. I know one that I've been working with that she says she's just convinced she's going to have to move out of town. Can't find anything here. I don't know whether that's true or not. We'll have to see. But I do know from some of my past experience that, and I'll keep my mouth shut, I'm not going to name anyone, but in some cases where there are children in the home, if DCF was to find out, those children would probably be taken from the home. I've seen it done before. I know that they're better off probably with their parents in that home than they are in some of the other foster care homes that I've seen in my past years of working the system. So I'm not anxious to see, to break up families. What I'm anxious to see is to get some things done to where we can be a little more compassionate and try to figure out how we together can help solve some of these problems. I know it's a real challenge, and I just appreciate your interest in trying to do some things, because I know you're aware of it. I appreciate what you've done at the tax sale and getting some lots ready for some of the housing that's going to be provided through the Stafford County Economic Development Group. I'm pleased with that, and I see that being part of the solution too. So I just wanted to bring you up to date and let you know some of us are bumping around trying to figure out what we can do as to just the average citizen here, not just dumping it on you guys and saying, you guys go do it. I think we need to say we're going to do something, and that includes to me, because when I point my finger at you, got three of them pointing back at me. So I'll be involved as well, if you want me to be, or to the extent that I need to be. But we do want to see more federal and state monies coming in. We haven't accessed them, and I know from my past experience, if you don't use it, we'll lose it. They're spending a lot of money now in Reno County and in Sedgwick County doing things, and we haven't really accessed it here in Stafford County. So we better do what we can to get that done. So that's what we're kind of working on. I just wanted to bring you up to date, not to point fingers or anything, but just to let you know some of us are concerned and watching what's going on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you doing the research on it.
Thank you.
Council?
Yeah, it sounds like you dove pretty deep into it.
Yeah.
Looks like you're trying to figure out solutions.
We
So,
are. Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Lance.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda. Approved minutes, regular council meeting December 3rd, 2019, and special meeting December 9th, 2019. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Appropriation ordinance 12-17-19 in the amount of $158,030.17.
So moved.
second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I'm abstaining.
Second appropriation ordinance, petty cash, $401.12. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, department head and committee reports. City Superintendent, Jeff.
Well, we had a crew of tree trimmers for a good share of the week. Got good and started on it. I spent most of my time this week helping Jason with some water plant issues and some issues out at the lift station. So, but we've made a little headway on the tree trimming. We're waiting on some saw blades for our hydraulic saw. That saw's fairly old, and I guess I wasn't thinking and didn't realize that there's no place to sharpen saw blades. And the blades have gotten dull, and we don't have anybody to sharpen them anymore, and so I ordered some, and they're here. They're in Pratt. I've got to go get them yet, but you hate to just use them and throw them away. Well, they're about $70 a piece, so we're going to try and research a little bit of some place where we can take them and drop them. We found one place in Hutch and one place in Wichita. That's as close as we found anybody. So anyway, but I had a crew of guys most of the week trimming trees, so we've gotten a chance to look at a little bit of the sewer camera work that was done, but not a lot at this point. So,
Anybody have any questions for Jeff? Thanks, Jeff. Okay, public utility supervisor, Jason.
Oh, well, he said we got those few things looked at and going. And the other question I was wanting to ask is, where were you guys with the truck parking? Do you want to continue with that for now, or wait, table it, or? We could do some measuring when we have some spare time, and get that planned out still, or?
We're just waiting to hear on that grant, aren't we? Isn't that the last I heard?
What grant?
The grant.
Oh, great.
For
I gave you guys the information that Lisa
Yeah,
gave me.
It's not open for application till March, that's what she said. I think we were short, I guess we were short on material and we were trying to figure out our finances.
Okay, I didn't know if I still needed to go stake the rest of that out, or what you guys want to do there.
I think it's kind of on the back burner till.
Okay.
Getting measurements and exact, better figures might be beneficial with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not opposed if you have time,
Okay,
if you want to.
okay.
Just having
I
a better,
forgot.
like,
I
even
did
especially
get
if we
something I wanted
submit a
to bring
grant.
up. I'll wait till
Right.
Having
everybody's
those
done.
numbers would be
Yeah,
more beneficial
Yeah, it could be.
in submitting those things.
yeah, maybe some better numbers, Jason. I don't know. Brock Electric.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I guess
yeah.
make work for Jeff.
Did we ever hear from Kansas Dirt? That was gone that next meeting.
Yeah, you must have been gone.
How much
then,
was
but,
it?
Like to level the ground, get it to grade, $5,000 for Kansas Dirt to do it. And then he estimated, he didn't care really about hauling the rock. but he estimated like $800 a load of that big rock. And, you know, start with 20, 30 loads.
We don't
maybe
know
more than
roughly
that.
what it'd be, huh?
Yeah, not, you know, just,
Tell me to keep it
I
on,
mean,
we'll keep it on the
assuming
agenda
probably-
then, till we're ready, later on.
Yeah.
so,
When you have time, Jason, if you can get some numbers for us, measurements.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering, because I didn't know if you guys wanted to go out, and then I staked it out, and then the gentleman wanted to go ahead and plow it up, and we just leave it to weeds, you know. That's where I was with it, you know, because
Yeah.
spring's gonna be coming up here pretty quick. And,
Yeah. It's not a priority, but go ahead and do it when you have time.
okay, well, I was just curious.
Okay, great, thank
All
you.
right, mhm.
Anybody have any other questions for Jason?
I might jump in just a second. Jason had called me today, I forgot to tell you this. He's found a guy that works for National Beef,
Contracts.
contracts with National
Teacher.
Beef, and he teaches journeymans electricity. He's offered to come out here and teach my two guys on a twice a month basis on a Saturday morning, and would go for 4 hours at a time. And to keep my guys from getting overtime, we'd let them off at 11 on Friday, so they wouldn't be any overtime unless we got an emergency and had to go out. He'd put them clear through the Merchant Journeyman's program. It keeps your linemen in town, keeps you from trying to drag somebody in that stays a year or two and leaves. If you can teach guys that are here, and maybe just Jason and Eric aren't the only two that would like to learn it and would be willing to put the effort forth. I might have another guy, you know, I don't know. But he'd put them, it's a 4-year program, and if we did it twice monthly, he'd like to have $800 a month to do it, which is well within the spending limits and cheaper than probably you'll pay a lineman. And if you keep your guys here and your guys make a home here, I think you're money ahead, and you'll keep your training in town and keep it on this type of a system, on our system, instead of something that's clear off and something that they don't need to learn about. So I told Jason I thought it was a great idea.
See what this, I took the merchant class, and I'm on my 3rd year, and I had to test out. Well, I did it up at Great Bend, and I just drove back and forth, and he only did it once every quarter. Full 8-hour day once every quarter. And it wasn't enough when you get up to the 3 and 4. And that was a problem, because we're getting on some algebra, hard math with vectors and all this stuff that you need. And I just, all right, I can't do it by myself. It's just the way it is. And so all I had to do is test out on my 3rd year, and I'm starting on my 4th. But where Eric would have to start all over, and then we could just get those books caught up with him. And it could be that I could say, by the time I get my 3 tested and pass the 4, he's on his 2nd. He could just use my 1st and 2nd book, and then take the 3 and 4. So we wouldn't even have to buy him the books, because I still got my first one, 2nd one, and all I got to do is test it on my 3rd. So there'd be the 3 books right there, and then I just have to get my 4th book from Merchant still. So I thought I was just talking with Jeff, and I almost thought it would be pretty good. And if we couldn't do the 8, maybe go down to see if he'd do it for 6. You know, I mean, so it was just kind of a thought.
The Merchants program is a worldwide
And it's
program.
a
for
good
journeymen.
one.
I mean,
It is a good one.
It's a top of the line program. Most of the journeymen, that's where they test out.
The
is through
books are
Merchants.
really good too. I mean, they give you full pictures, and it's really neat to read it and do the book work, because they make it fun, and then you learn a lot of stuff. I mean, it's neat. That's why I just said it, because he heard of Merchants, and so when he went to was teaching in Dodge, and then they contracted him. And so he just couldn't pass it up. It was too good of a deal for National Beef. And so he's teaching National Beef Electric. And that's what he's doing there. So you thought, well, if we could do it on a Saturday every now and then. And, because like I said, I was doing it all on my own and only going there one every quarter. And so that's what I did.
That's kind of the way
So
it's working with the safety guy that we have too. He uses a different program than the Merchants program, but you know, they were only testing like once a quarter. You know, one guy from Greensburg, one guy from Larned, and we had one guy that was here, and they'd swap around and that. But once a quarter's not enough. I mean, when you get into this, there's a lot of math into metering into this in order to understand how it works and be able to calculate your current transformers and your amperage and your load and that stuff, you know, it takes quite a bit of math to do it, so. And that's not the only thing. I mean, it goes from knot tying to even hook and poles if you want to train somebody to climb. I mean, that's part of it too. You don't have to take it, but it goes from knot tying and lifting and stuff like that, clear through the math, through the metering, through the whole, you know, the whole gamut of everything that goes on for a journeyman. So I think it's a great program. And where you have two guys that want to stay in town and want to do this, I think it's a great.
Because they let you, they let me go ahead, because I was done with my first book in like 5 months. And he said, well, you test out and go to your second, and I did that too. Because there wasn't no sense of waiting around 4 months to sit there, so he said, you just get it right after it. So, I mean, it's pretty good.
And it's mainly just the hours behind it in order to test out is what it is.
And then, because who's ever in charge of the lecture is the one that was supposed to help him, you know, do well, how do you climb a pole? Well, get Jeff, go over there and show you, and that's how it was supposed to. And then you go up there and because I always just checked the hard stuff that I knew I needed help on, and then I went and did the other stuff I learned and knew, and then I could go up there on the quarter and just whip that, you know, the stuff I had checked out. So, because a lot of this is on your own. If you test out, you just sit there and scan your thing, send it to the teacher, and he checks it, and well, you need to go back and work because you didn't pass that test, or go on to the next section.
Sounds like an interesting and beneficial program.
Seen it, yeah.
What does the rest of council think?
When does he want to start? Or what, I mean, like first year or?
He told me, I said, let's talk and see what he'd like to do, and then we'll go from there.
You know, when this gets done, what are we looking at paying these guys if we have 2 or 3 guys?
Boy, that's up to you.
Because that's my concern, is we're gonna put these guys through this, and by the time we're said and done and over with, if we did 3 guys, we're gonna be in at 45,000 by the time we pay the guy training and our 3 guys paying them weekends and stuff. So I came up with 45,000. But my concern is, we're gonna pay for that for them, and they can bail out of here in 4 years if they want and go make double what they're making.
That's why I say I think you've got guys that want to stay as long as you're fair with them. You know, we discussed this the other morning, that if you're going to hire a journeyman that's topped out, you're going to pay him, you'll probably pay him $80,000 a year is about what you pay him at $30-some odd an hour. I mean, you'd be up in the $70,000, $80,000 range. So why not spend it on your guys and then give them, when they've achieved something, then give them a little bit of a raise and make them want to stay.
I mean, what's the number you're
Be
thinking?
fair with them. I mean,
That's
you
all
know.
I'm saying, it's a lot of money.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
Well,
But
the good thing about
the investment is that you have 26 mile of distribution line. And if you're not gonna pay them, you're gonna pay $300 an hour for a journeyman and a foreman and a pickup. Not even trucks, using your trucks. When you call for a journeyman, you're gonna get a foreman with him every time.
No, I understand.
And at $300 an hour, that's $2,500 a day.
the neat thing about it is
So,
he
so
sat there and
take
said
care of
if
them
there's,
and pay them here.
if there's 6 to 10 people, it's still going to be 8, 6, whatever you guys think he's worth, and just every month. And so that's 2. You know, it could be all of us taking that course for 8 to 600
For the same money.
For the same money.
Yeah.
So I mean, I really thought it was kind of a neat deal.
It's really like being per person. Where we look, I did $18 an hour. We'll be looking at $1,800.
And like I said, the ones who do want to take it,
person.
if they knew that Saturday was coming up from 8 to 12, then we could just take off the 4 hours of Friday and not even have to pay overtime.
No,
And then just go that
It's really
Saturday. So
reasonable. I mean,
that's what I thought was kind of neat.
$1,800 by the time it's done and over with is what we'll be looking at paying each guy after the 4 years. So I mean, it's really reasonable. It really is. But that's a risk, is losing guys. You know,
I
they can
understand
make
that,
some
yeah.
good money.
You do the same thing when you send them through police training.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to take that chance. You have to believe in the guys that are working for you. They've came here because they want to work here. They're not somebody that you doodled the rug out and said, I'm going to pay you $30 an hour, and you come and stay for 2 years and you get a job somewhere down the road. These are guys that are investing in the community, that own homes in the community, and want to stay. So if they want to stay, I think that the thing to do is to give them a chance. It may not work. We might go through this a year or two and they say, no, I'm just not going to do it anymore. But they might make you a hand for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's a chance you have to take.
I'm not
You know,
opposed to it.
even if they didn't complete the program in full, they would still probably help out the linemen.
The
At least
benefit,
kind of know
yeah,
the,
sure.
know the basics.
I've come too
of
far, and
it.
I was thinking, man, I could really make this go. I mean, I could really get to knowing my hard stuff. Because the third and fourth year, that's the booger. And that's why I was certainly wanting to see if we couldn't do this. And
I
then,
mean, you make your
I-
revenue by the metering and that, and if these guys don't get it right, it can cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, so they need to take the time to understand how this works and how it's calculated so that in return, you get the revenue that you're supposed to. We did have one here years back before any of you sat around the table. We wrote them a check for over $20,000 because we made a mistake on the metering. The supervisor did. And about 3 years later, they figured it out. And we wrote them a check for over $20,000 to pay them the difference because we'd overcharged them. So it's just stuff like that. But it can go the other way, and you only get 2/3 of the revenue you're supposed to get. So the biggest part of this is to make sure that the metering, that the line work's done, but to make sure that the revenue comes in to pay for it too. So there's quite a bit of math to it in order to do it right.
I just
I
want
learned
the
from
teacher.
2 guys here, but these guys will learn out of the book, and I didn't learn out of the book. But,
Yeah.
you know, I just think
Because I already got some of the books. Like I said, I'll even pay for the fourth book just to pay for it.
I mean,
As long as I get the teacher. I mean, I'll go that far.
I think that
I
you're
mean,
farther
you know.
ahead because we haven't drugged somebody in here. We've got guys that have made a home in the community that want to work here. You know, we've tried guys from out of town. It just didn't work.
Who's the third guy you're thinking?
Well, I hate to say at this point because I haven't talked to him,
Okay,
but I really think that there's a good possibility there could be 3.
okay.
And if he only learned the work aspect of the stuff that was on the ground and that stuff, he'd be very valuable to him, you know.
Right.
So,
No, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it at all.
And it's something we'll pay as we go, the $800 a month.
Yeah, it'd just be like a monthly deal like
I
we do
guess you
everything
probably
else.
just bill us every month.
Yeah.
And we'll just pay it just
And like I
we
said,
do the rest
he
of our
said
stuff.
he said he's gonna start high, and then we'll see what the bottom price is. So I mean, if you guys wanna, that's what he said. I'm telling you.
What's he mean by that?
Well, let me put it this way: if you sit there and barked on 1,000 and you actually got it, you'd be going, "I got that. I can't believe it." But I would have went lower.
It's like
So,
going to
I mean,
an
like I
auction,
said,
you
if
just
you-
have to see.
If you want to sit there and start at 800 and say, okay, or let's try him at this, and then I'll just call him and say, hey, would you go for this? And then, yeah, well, yeah, I'll do it for that, and we'd be like, all right, we got this deal.
Let's put
You
it
know,
this
I mean,
way.
that's just the
think-
way I was
Talk
looking
to
at it.
him, talk to him.
I
and
think
see what
you
he
can
wants
cut
to do.
200 off of it and make it work.
Yeah,
It's an interesting.
So that'd be
option.
the
I didn't
6
know-
instead of 8.
yeah.
That's what,
I
yeah, I
didn't
think
know
if
that
you
was possible.
talk to him and see if maybe he'd be willing to do
Tell him we'd
6.
be willing to do
Okay.
it. See what he
See
says.
what he
The
says.
guy comes here and we work with our
Yeah.
equipment.
And
so
we-
that's
yeah, we
awesome.
can even
He's
put it
driving
in
75 miles just to come out here and
he
teach
lives
it.
in Jetmore, so yeah, I mean, it's,
So,
Is there any,
Don't show him the video, but I'd say 600, and if you're gonna go for 6, pay him as 8.
yeah. I
I'm
mean,
okay with it either way.
is there any special stuff we might be looking at purchasing?
I don't think so. Books, maybe, you know, that'd be it.
he said, that's what he said to me though, he said,
I
I
don't know what
would
the
go,
books cost.
I'm gonna try to
I've never
start
been
high.
through that program, I don't know.
All right,
But I'm gonna like to sit in on it, cause there's a lot of stuff I can probably learn, you know, that I don't know, so.
okay, Jason, go ahead and see if you
Anyway.
can call and see if you can negotiate something for
Sure,
them.
sure,
Thank you.
thank you, yeah.
Okay, moving on to Public Works Supervisor, David.
I don't have anything. I think all my stuff was in my little document.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for David?
I did see some of the signs, they do look pretty good. Would have been put
You
up.
guys just hammer those sleeves in, the loader or whatever, but
By hand.
if they're going in, my concern was if they'd go in straight. Do they just go in nice and straight?
Every one of them's leveled.
Awesome. Well, I haven't even seen one yet. Where'd you guys put them in at?
Look, drive down
Started at
West Street.
Grandview and made it to 9th and West, I believe.
Yeah, I'll go look at them.
They're bright too.
It's a good idea, easy. They do look good.
Okay, moving on. Thank you, by the way. Okay, do we have anything from the grant administrator, Lisa?
No.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions they can forward on to Lisa? Nothing? Okay. Police chief, Chief Adams.
Just a couple things. Tori's graduation this Friday at 1, so if anybody's interested. Did get the MOUs done, the memorandum of understanding for the Sheriff's Department and for Stafford PD. Stafford's gonna give us $1,000 this week, and then they're gonna give us another $1,000 for the K-9 fund next month. And then they're gonna do $1,000 every year. Stafford County paid for the bite suit, so they've got the bill and it should be on its way. Should be here in another 3 weeks, maybe a month. We are getting some of the training stuff in, got the narcotics in, did get a bite sleeve and an agitation stick, all of that's in, so we did a little bite work last night. As you know, the school board approved the trap team, so we're going to start working on that, getting everything ready to go for the trap team, and we'll get everything finalized on that. We're going to have some meetings with hunter safety course, because everybody on the team has to have hunter safety education, so we're going to set that up and get that done so that we can get all those. But we're going to make it community-wide so that we can get more people in if they want to do it, and try and promote a little bit more hunting. Maxville School District, I talked to them on the phone, finishing up their MOU. They are going to buy a pallet of dog food at 21 bags of dog food, so that should last us about 1.5 years. They're 40-pound bags, so we'll get 21 of them. The new truck is in Wichita. Hopefully maybe Thursday I can pick it up or something. I don't know. I'm waiting on them to call me back when they get done doing the inspection on it and everything like that. All the equipment's in for it, and the graphics are getting made now, so we'll be able to get all that stuff on, and hopefully we'll have the new truck done by the weekend is the plan. Hopefully that works out, and it'll be on the road and ready to go for Monday morning, so we'll see. Other than that, still working on the St. John's School, and everything else is going well, so that's it.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Nobody have any questions?
What's your required response time with a dog under current case law, you know?
Well, current case law, there is no time limit. By case law it says a reasonable amount of time. There's no specific time. So it's per a judge or jury's determination of what's in a reasonable amount of time. Obviously they're going to call, our call the other day, which can't name the city, it's on tape, we got called out because their canine officer didn't respond to the phone. I did, so we got called out, headed over there, did a search. There we didn't have any time frame, but if it was on a car stop and they had reasonable suspicion, they can hold it for a reasonable amount of time.
And I guess my concern is in Stafford and Maxville know that.
Well, part of the MOU that's in there, which I've never done one before, so I've worked all day yesterday trying to get these done. Part of that in there is their departments also agree to a 2-hour once-a-year training that I'll put on that will go over case law, how they need to be around the dog, what the dog's limitations are, and what we can do, and also scene preservation to not mess it up for the dog, different things. So they do agree to a 2-hour every year law update and how the dog works.
You guys don't need me anymore.
Any other questions, John?
So yeah,
Just had
so
them prepared.
that's the thing is on case law, it just says on a reasonable amount of time.
Okay.
You know, and it can't, and somebody has to use the closest dog, so everybody here, you have to, unless you can prove in court that that dog is unreliable, you have to use the closest dog. If that dog's not available, then you can go outside. So it's kind of like they have to use theirs, but since they couldn't get a hold of him, he wasn't there, nothing like that, then they can search outside to use. So, but he's doing really well. He's doing good. So
Good. Good to hear. You had something else to add?
no, I think I got it all.
Okay.
I saw that last one there, but I got it.
Okay. All right, we're moving on. Fire Chief Michael Sanders isn't here.
We need to add Kason to the fire roster.
I'd make a motion to add Keeson Ziegler to St. John Fire Department, Station 320.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. All right, moving on to City Administrator Jamie.
Um, with your permission, I would like to write off 39 utility accounts in the amount of $20,023.86.
How far back do these go?
You don't want to know.
I
We
mean,
do.
they all are older. Like,
Yeah, a
and
lot
it's a
of-
pretty much.
What's the
Yeah.
most recent one?
Yeah.
The most we just sent one. Oh, on this?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like 10 years. Like, it's not within the last
No,
5.
with it. You. So when we sent everything to the new collections company, they said like, rule of thumb, it's easier to get the 5 years. After the 5 years, it's next to impossible. But
So all these
Probably
are 5
can't bring a case after 5 years.
yeah,
These are 5 years or older. All these are.
at least.
And none of these currently have utilities, right?
No.
That's a shame.
$500 a piece average.
Is that better than-
No.
That's actually, sometimes it's not portion of that, and that's actually lower.
Yeah, a lot of them are
I believe it was.
deceased, or like there's a couple restaurants that like back in the early 2000s were here, but quite a bit of them are deceased or no longer in town.
Nothing in the last 5 years.
Correct.
We do have something in place to keep this from happening, correct?
No.
Now,
Well, and we've started, like if people, like for example, we have someone that lived in house A and they still have an outstanding bill, that money now transfers to their new house. I'm not playing house hopping. And I'd really like to see it, and I don't know if we can, but there's a lot of communities that don't even do like delinquent cards and shut off days. It's due on the 15th
What's your interest too?
and you're done. Do what?
What's your interest?
10% if it's not paid.
I mean, if they're deceased, you can't do anything. The only thing you can do is file a claim in the state within the 40 days or whatever that you can do it. So those you can't do anything about it.
We've been doing pretty good about keeping up with people paying. But yeah, it's just
When you started with with the new collection, wasn't it just like 27,000 that was owed? I mean, is that all? What's the amount of money we got since we switched the collection agency?
well, they've sent out everything. We
See how many times I'm doing this thing up.
she's gonna kill us here before long.
We certified. This one has 40 accounts in the amount of $31,120.85.
And we got about 11,000.
Well, yeah.
So they're actually bringing in money, the collection agency.
We've had 2 payments, I think. So
From 2 different people or from, do they?
from 2 different people. Well, we have 2. We have 2 accounts scheduled for legal action. One we found out was deceased. And 1 payment.
It's just, their energies. It's just tracking it down, basically.
Yeah. Like they're a lot more aggressive than the Kansas set-off, because with the Kansas set-off, you basically submit the debt and then you get put on their list of deads, and I could, like if I had 20 deads and the
You're
city
at
of
the bottom of it.
the city of St. John submits it tomorrow, you're number 21. So these guys are just a little bit more, and then we don't have to do anything. Like once we submit to them, like we've had, when it first went out, we had a lot of phone calls like, what is going on? We'll just pay this. And it's out of our hands now. Too late. So.
I mean, you don't think it's too early? You don't think the collections doesn't keep nagging them on it?
Oh, yeah, these guys are a lot more aggressive.
But I mean, do you think it's too early? Like, you don't think we'll get any more out of the 20,000?
The 20,000 is
This list and what she's holding are two different things.
correct.
Yeah, the list she's talking about and this are not overlapping.
I just can't
in any
give,
way.
yeah.
The 20,000 is a lost cause for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I went through all of the outstanding, and we either submitted, resubmitted, or put it on
Okay.
the write-off list. I think I went through 8 or 10 pages.
You filtered through it
Pam went through it.
and figured out
Yeah,
which ones are
'cause-
deceased and gone.
And that
just
was the thing, because I
basically-
was just going through looking at dates more so than anything, and Pam had to go back and,
This 20,000 isn't anybody that's still paying it. Like, whew, they threw that out the window.
correct. And I will triple check, and then I'll have Pam check again.
I'm just making sure.
Yes.
I think you can make a motion that she writes off deceased accounts or companies that went out of business or no longer in existence. If that takes care of it all, and if she's gonna triple check, that way you're not waiving everything on that list.
Right.
So we just make a motion to let her use her discretion.
Well, she can't bring a claim against somebody that's dead anyways,
Right.
so she doesn't have much discretion or authority, but you could direct her to go ahead and write off accounts of those that she can't file a claim in an estate for because the time period in which to do so has lapsed, which would just be about everybody on that list, I would assume.
To your
There are
discretion.
39 accounts.
Yes.
Can we just do the 39 accounts?
Or you can just do that.
I make a motion to write off the 39 outstanding utility accounts.
That's when she said, I want to double check.
To the
that."
sum,
Yeah.
it was 20,000, wasn't it?
I'm not saying the number because it might be wrong.
Check
I'm
it
saying write off the 39 utility accounts that we can't collect on.
Okay, second.
All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
You wanna add me to the list?
I was gonna say, if you don't trust me to do that, then I'm just gonna walk out the door. Okay, so we have all of our end of the year paperwork, with licenses and permits, and we actually got all of the CMB applications in, so I need approval, for Kansas Co-op, White's Food Liner, Pueblo Nuevo, El Paralito, and Country Kicking Cafe. So we can get their 2020 CMB licenses.
Do we have to do that? Can we do them all at once?
I think when you make the motion, though, you need to read them off. So the person making the motion, can they make a motion? I think, so everybody can vote on them. I guess you're right, let's just do them individually. Sorry.
I'd move to approve White's Food Liner Select Cereal Malt Beverage License for 2020.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
You're holding me to the rest.
I'd make a motion to approve Kansas Co-op's cereal malt beverage license for 2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Okay, just keep it that way.
I'd make a motion to approve Pueblo Nuevo's Mexican restaurant for cereal malt beverage license for 2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
I'd make a motion to approve El Paralito's cereal malt beverage license for 2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
I would make a motion to approve Country Kicking Cafe cereal malt beverage license for 2020.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
I was gonna jump right in there and say second.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Sorry, there was a point, one of those was not unanimously approved at one point, that's why I need to do that.
That's why I asked.
And then the last thing I have is end of the year transfers. I included that sheet. I never heard back from the auditor, but with my numbers, I don't think I'm gonna be wrong. So if you'd like to approve those pending the auditor's approval, we can do that and not have an end of the year meeting, because I don't think anything else needs to come to the table before the end of the year. Unless I'm completely missing something, but that would be the last end of the year. We're working on the end of the year process. We have payroll at the end of the week, and then we'll start working, well, I guess we'll have a payroll for 12/31, and then get out 1099s and W-2s and all that stuff, so. But that's nothing that you guys are needed for, so. Mhm. It should have been your list. It's after the administrative report.
Here, there it is.
There it is, yeah.
And this is the same, same Excel sheet that I used last year. You just have your, like, your proposed transfer, and then we want to make sure that our unencumbered cash balance needed for the beginning of our 2020 budget matches.
We're gonna make a motion to approve this, so.
Yeah, I mean, you can, and you could do that subject to your numbers meeting and numbers of
Make a motion that pending the auditor's or accountant's approval, that you go ahead with the transfer over for next year of all the numbers that are on the sheet for the estimates.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Anything else, Jamie?
Don't think so. I think my other thing is the executive session.
Okay, all right. So the attorney, John.
I don't have any individual reports to make.
Okay, anybody have any questions for John? Okay, moving on. Okay, did anybody have anything to discuss on old business that hasn't already been discussed?
Have heard anything back on the utility truck?
Still. I'll send another email this week to just ask him if they picked it up or however that works.
What's the time frame for Ben?
He wants to get started by the end of the year.
It's on the, it's in here, and that he's coordinating with Jamie on dates around skating.
And we paid for,
Prepare half.
say that too. Yeah. Okay.
Half up front and then half when he's complete.
Have you checked the schedule if anybody's using the skating rink during that time?
That's,
What, am I missing this or what?
yeah, read the administrative report. Ben and Jamie are working on getting dates set up to get started working around the skating rink schedule. Paying for half the cost now, half of the project's complete.
I missed the back page too.
You flip it over. Right there.
Some of the
I got it,
pages
Jamie.
are
I did
from
not
back.
receive an email copy this time, I don't know why.
I'll look into
No
it.
big deal, I got a paper copy.
That's why we double up for you.
Dang, you know how to make me feel like an idiot.
Hey, man, I'm sorry. Keep the questions coming.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, move on to new business. Since we've already did the CMB licenses, we'll move on to the Christmas
Oh,
bonus.
my bad.
Christmas bonus and Christmas Eve.
So I forgot about all of that too. Last year we did a Christmas bonus of $100 for every employee, and I think we were off Christmas Eve.
I don't remember.
Well, I think Christmas Eve should be a day to have off. And
And I'll be like, if you want the office open, I'll be in town, so I can come in all day or until noon.
What day is Christmas Eve?
Wednesday,
Tuesday.
Wednesday's Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas
Oh, yeah,
Eve's
good point.
Tuesday.
I think the county's closed. I mean, it's just hard when everything else is closed.
And you sit here all day long.
We sit here all day, which is nice to get things done, but my list is caught up.
I'm okay with it being shut down on Tuesday, it's 24th.
Fine.
And then Christmas bonus.
I don't have a problem, seems like that's what we've done every year. They're all Christmas bonus.
Yeah, from the electric department,
I think it's important.
take it from Jeff's
You have to.
payroll.
Yeah,
You have to.
yeah, you have to. I'll write it off somewhere, just take it. We'll find a place.
I think that requires a motion.
We'll
I'd
find a
make a
place.
motion to give $100 Christmas bonus to every employee and give them Christmas Eve off, 24th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't need a motion for the 4th.
He included
I
that.
just
Oh, you did?
included it.
Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Okay, we're at the point in the,
Take that to the police department.
I got a couple things on
oh,
new
my bad,
business.
sorry.
The,
I'm gonna make a motion next year, take that.
the first one is, I did some discussing with Mike Sanders, he's their chief, and, we've been short-handed lately. We've only had like a couple of guys, if they happen to be around, that can respond to the fires for the city. What we discussed is having, and I guess this has been in the past where we have our city guys that are on the fire department make it to where they, Mike's thought it's like mandatory to respond if they're on the city fire department, so he was supposed to be here tonight, but he's all for it. I just needed to see how you guys felt about it, how you department heads felt about it.
We used to always respond with a bucket truck to every town fire anyway, in case we had to disconnect electricity. I mean, that was just
Yeah,
commonplace. I mean, we did, so
I mean, how do you guys feel about that, you know?
it's fine.
Would that be 3 guys we'd have on now, or 2?
2.
Jason.
Yeah,
Jason,
and
Jason.
Jason, yeah.
It's just, we have been shorthanded just because during 8 to 5 business hours, people have their own jobs to go to. I just think it should be mandatory if we have something go on for St. John Fire, 320 gets paged out, that our city guys go respond to that if they're here.
I don't see a problem with that. I mean, for one, I assume we don't have a lot of fires in town, but
No.
it's probably lifting the system sometimes too.
Yeah,
If they get
it's
called
cold
up for, I
somewhere.
mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with it, I guess.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, we gotta make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, these are just city staff that are already
Firefighters.
firefighters.
The other thing, I guess, we need to be keeping in mind is the pay, I guess, on it. What is it you guys are making right now?
Firefighter? I get $20 whether they're there for 1 hour or, well, they get a little more if they're there longer than that, but it ain't a whole lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
How does it work if they're working?
Yeah.
Well, I think they're city employees still. I mean, I think what you're doing is basically reassigning the city employee duties if they're working for the city of Pennsylvania.
So they're still just getting paid their hourly rate from the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what's that say if they happen, they get paged out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? You guys quit at 3:30, right?
Mhm.
You know, and they're there till 5:30. I guess it's something, that's the biggest piece that I've been thinking
Yeah.
about where it makes it right, because at the same time, we have two guys before any of these changes do happen that wanted to be on the fire department. I don't wanna see the other
So-
5 or whatever jump on just
So if
because they'll be
somebody works
making
for a
double.
job and they're making $20 an hour and they're on the fire department, they have the option of not responding to the fire so they can stay and work the 20 hour for $20 an hour job, right? Is that correct?
As
What-
it stands right now.
As it stands right now, so what I'm saying is, but you're basically changing for the city employees, you're saying you don't have the option to stay and work for the city, you have to go fight the fire, so basically, they're fighting the fire under their city employees, so if it's past 5 o'clock or it puts them into overtime, you're gonna have to pay them the overtime fee, otherwise you can't mandate it, I guess is what I'm saying.
It makes things
Wouldn't it be
complicated.
good if the other 5 jumped on it?
No, because if it's mandatory and we have 5 guys that go, I mean, sometimes you only need 2. You know, they drop what they're doing and everybody goes. So I mean, there's,
So do
it's
you
just,
want, do you want, I don't know if you necessarily wanna make it mandatory. I think you wanna give them the option or allow them
To go during
to leave during working hours.
I guess if they did
Because if
that.
you make it mandatory, and Jason makes $28 an hour, you're gonna pay him $28 an hour every time he goes on a fire run.
But you're not, but they have that option to do that now, don't they, Jamie? If fire happens, or Jeff, can't they leave and,
Oh, yeah, we've never stopped anybody. We've gone on them for years. I mean, you know, and the money was never the argument in the middle of it. You just went. I mean, you know,
I think you're fired.
what the hell? If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you just go.
But here's the thing, they can't, I don't think you can legally let them draw their wage from the city and pay them for fire runs.
No, I don't think they ever charged for fire runs. I think it was just you just went there and then you come back and went back to work. Unless it was a major deal.
So this is,
I think.
I don't think it was an argument over $20 that I remember. I mean, we haven't had a town fire, knock on wood, for a long time, but I don't ever remember that being a problem.
I think it should probably be like that.
I think you could sort that out after the fact. If you stayed after that, you'd draw fireman's wages. If it was during city time, then you just got paid your wages, you went and then you went back to work. Depending on what it was, you know, I mean,
maybe it's a solution to that problem.
we never
Yeah.
got paid back there, so I don't know how to answer that question. It was
Yeah.
all volunteer, real volunteer.
yeah.
No, really?
Yeah, so I don't know, cause once, if we were at 5 o'clock and it went till 7, you got stopped at 5 and you're doing your free
Yeah.
volunteer from that 2 hours, so I don't know how to answer that here. So I'm not used to the paid.
I think the years that I was on there, we made $8, you know, it wasn't a big deal.
Because if you paid a guy overtime and if he's making money out of the electric department.
You're not gonna pay him
you know,
overtime to fight a fire.
Yeah,
No.
That's what I'm
You're
saying.
just not going to, no.
no.
If you make it mandatory, you will though.
Oh, yeah, if you make it mandatory, you're gonna pay him overtime.
That's
Sure
what I'm
you
saying,
will.
that's mandatory, you're just changing their duties.
I don't think anybody that's a fireman is gonna neglect the fire department.
Because they're working at the city.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't,
I mean, we used to all go.
yeah, that's right.
I mean, because usually there was only 2 or 3 guys in town, we all went, you know? I mean, most of us have been on there 20 years or so, and it wasn't a big deal. But if nothing else, we got the lights disconnected and got the truck set up before somebody showed up, you know? But I don't ever remember arguing about the pay. I mean, it was just a, I don't know. I mean, it never was mandatory. We just went.
That's what you do.
We just thought it was part of our job, you know? You know, keep the town from burning down. Somebody usually, if we were pumping water, we usually made sure that somebody was there to make sure we had water. You know, whether they went, and now it's at the water plant. Used to, we'd turn an extra well on or something, but now we have to go through the water plant to do it. So that would require somebody that knew an inside track on how the water worked in order to make sure that the volume was there. You know, but I mean, as far as somebody neglecting going or not going, no, we never did. We just went. I mean, it was just part of it. So, you know, we never argued over $10. We just went.
Okay. That's your question?
satisfactory?
I don't, I guess I got lost, I don't, what are we gonna end up doing?
Allowing them to go, not making it mandatory.
If they go on hours, then they get paid the regular pay, and then if they go over, it will not be overtime.
I think that would be
It
between
would
them
be-
and the chief, you
it
know,
would be-
after the
yeah.
fact.
So,
That was my question.
But yeah, I don't
Jeff,
think
that's when
you
I
pay
said
them
when I was
overtime,
saying
no.
when I was saying overtime,
No,
listen, you gotta hear me out here.
no, I wouldn't pay them overtime, no. No, I wouldn't
But I mean,
require.
legally, you have to after 40 hours.
If you require them, sure you do. But if you just let us go like we've done for
Right.
40 years, you're not requiring them to, but their heart's gonna tell them that they're a fireman and that's what they're gonna do.
Okay,
You know, 3:30 comes and they turn into a fireman.
okay.
Basically be like supervisors understanding that, you know what, the page goes off and there's a fire, some of you guys may be
I mean,
taken off to go
yeah,
to
I mean,
that.
we just know because a lot of the guys, you know, if they don't have it on their phone, the only other person that will know is me because it comes on my radio in the truck, but I mean, we've never turned one down and we just stop what we're doing and we make sure that we get stuff disconnected so nobody gets hurt, make sure there's water there. I mean, you know, there's usually not enough of us to scare anybody too hard, we just take care of it.
Yeah,
okay.
that'll help out good.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Okay, we'll move on to, do you have anything else?
Yeah, and the Christmas party, I mean, you guys didn't make it to that, but what got me on it was Jamie, Jason, Jeff, like they put hard work into this between cooking, setting up. Jeff was there helping. It's not their job to do that afterwards. We all picked up. It shouldn't be their job to do. I think we just need to have Jamie next year look at, I know Leah Chrisman does decorating for parties and cater it out where it's their Christmas party, this isn't their time to be working on it. I think you guys should let Jamie at her discretion look at hiring that out next year. They put a lot of work into it. I stayed afterwards, helped them pick it up. And I've seen them for the last 2 years, being the only council member that shows up, that I get to see it and it shouldn't be that way. The employer always throws that together, not the employee. So,
Is there not any enjoyment or any camaraderie in cooking stuff? And
Oh yeah, we had just as much fun doing it from behind the bar as we do in front of it, you know.
Okay, I mean, I get, do we think we're getting punished?
It's not like we trash it
Well,
out
yeah,
and
but
throw
it's
it off.
not-
I see, I see where he's getting at, I see where he gets, but then again, I'm not gonna argue about cooking either.
Yeah, have fun cooking too.
I can see.
I had a Christmas party.
If you don't put oregano on it, anyway.
I wanna tell you something, it was good.
You
You don't know what you missed, it was good. It
I
really
understand,
was.
but it's just, they shouldn't have to do that, guys.
Yeah, we had to wash the
Yeah,
oregano
you know,
off.
I
that
understand
meat.
what you're
I
saying,
forgot
and
to
it has
put
merit.
oregano in the
Yeah.
party.
They don't have a problem with it, you know, maybe we can come to a compromise, maybe do something different, a little different this year, so you don't have to do all the work, you know? If you, still have people that want to do the cooking, then by all means, do the cooking, but maybe we can get somebody else to do the cleanup.
For the party, like set the tables up, pick the tables up, make the food, cater it, whatever. Just these people need to show up and enjoy their party and go straight home, not have to pick up that night.
They don't have to worry about it, so, okay.
So I think you guys should let Jamie do that next year at her discretion.
Council?
Yeah, I
Everyone
guess
fine
we're
with
gonna
that?
pre-ride next year.
Oh, fine.
Whatever they do.
I mean,
We'll visit it next year.
Put that on
I want
our
everybody to show up too.
Okay, let's see,
He just jabs your back.
I've had him for 2 years and he got me in one jab.
okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and recess a regular council meeting, and move into land bank.
Oh, my. Shit.
That's all I mean, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'll open the land bank meeting. I do have some additions for the land bank. We need to discuss a checking account for the land bank, forming a committee for the land bank, and then authorizing or discuss authority for approving purchases on properties.
You're looking at redoing all that. As in a committee, it's not us like the board.
No, it's still I'll explain it, but
And I
we
think
just,
that we have to change our executive session.
Nope.
Oh,
nope,
we're
I
good?
still want that one there. Different thing.
Okay,
Okay, so you need a,
so we need to add
So we need to
property
add,
acquisition.
no, it's on there. The executive session.
Do we need to add accepting?
Oh, yes, and then we need to add accepting a property into the land bank. Donated property into the land bank.
so moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay. I forgot that one. Do you have that? Did he bring you all that stuff? Joe Cornwell, the property he bought at the tax auction, which would be the
Lawtooth's
Yeah.
old lot?
the one that we tore the house down on. He wants to donate it to the land bank.
I'd make a motion to approve it. To the
Second.
land bank.
Second.
What's the address on it?
No,
South Broadway.
301, I think it's in 300 block, isn't it?
3 something South Broadway.
Yeah.
It's
Would
probably
be an
something
odd-
with the real address.
Maybe on that side, wouldn't it?
311,
The sheriff's deed should.
313, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Am I missing it? I'll just look it up under the
Yeah, all that has is legal description.
That's right, street legal.
3 something. 313.
Lot 16, 17, and block 8 of Kendall subdivision of part of the northwest quarter of section 4 and township 24, south of range 13, west of the 6th PM, Stafford County, Kansas.
13 South Broadway?
So moved.
213 South what? Broadway. 213 South Broadway.
Usually would be 200.
You made a motion,
Motion,
second.
second. Any more
You
discussion?
made it?
I think he meant it.
All in favor? All opposed, motion carries.
And I just need to be directed to do the deed so that he doesn't have to mess with the deed, if that's okay. With the land bank.
Yep. Is that okay with everybody for John to do?
That'd be fine.
So, okay, I met with 3 people, citizens, that are wanting to help the land bank out by either donating money, helping tear down houses, acquire properties. Some of their concerns was that right now the general fund of the city is what the land bank uses. They feel that the land bank should have its own checking account. So that way, when someone comes in and says, you know, I want to donate to help them purchase properties, they can write a check to the St. John Land Bank instead of to the city of St. John. They said they've had a lot of people that have offered, but they're kind of skeptical because they don't just want it thrown in the general fund, and then they don't honestly know whether or not it is spent for land bank
Right.
and property purchase and cleanup and stuff like that.
It gets lost in the mix.
Right.
Okay.
So, I guess that's the first thing. I spoke to John a little bit about it today. I talked to Jamie about it today as well. I think we can do it. She was gonna get with the accountant. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, as long as you
Yeah,
keep
I-
it separate from everything else,
Right.
that's a great idea.
I figured we could keep it separate from the cities, but still the city and the auditors could still audit
just
the
need
check.
I also
Checks and
think that
balances.
the,
Yeah,
that it makes it a little bit more transparent for everyone. that
Well-
anyone that donates, they know that it's not going towards anything else but the land.
The other thing that would help us too is like, and I got to thinking about this after I talked to John, when we go to the tax auction and purchase a piece of property, and we write the check out of the land bank, it goes automatically into the land bank instead of to the city, and then we have to do the paperwork to transfer it to the land bank. Because everything we bought at the last one, John has to do a deed transferring it from the city of St. John to the St. John Land Bank. So I mean,
Yeah.
it cuts John out of a little bit of money, and but it makes everything a lot simpler too.
It's set up as kind of a separate government entity. It's kind of think of it as the rec department set up.
Right.
So what would be the checks and balances to know that
It
money
would-
doesn't walk away?
You'd have to have your city administrator also be the administrator of that, so you don't have, so then you have kind of a double oversight between her and Marshall and anybody really on the land bank would have the same kind of access to it. Subject to open records.
You don't see any issues then?
I don't now, in the larger cities, your land banks are going to be individuals that, most cases, the mayor has appointed. It's just, when we set it up, we didn't know what it would look like, we didn't know whether you'd have people that could serve on the land bank, and so, when we set it up, it was set up to be the mayor plus the council members, and we made somebody else the chair of the land bank. So in other cities, it's a separate entity, kinda like, your zoning or whatever.
I wish that's the way we had it.
And we could,
I
that
think
can be
that's the
changed at
way-
any time,
I think
it's
that's the
just,
way the council, I think we should seek people out or feel out the interest, and I think we should.
and there can be
Share that.
overlap,
We
there
have
can be
plenty
like
to do,
3
in my
council
opinion.
members,
Yeah.
and then there can be the individuals who really wanna participate in it. You appoint those people every year, don't we? Don't we appoint people into the land bank at the beginning of every year when you do?
I don't
Well,
know
we
that
just-
any appointments
just
have ever been made since.
President of the land bank,
Okay.
that's all we've ever done.
So, I mean, the structure of that can be done to change too. And they,
Well,
that's
it's growing and it's getting to be more than just a.
Well, and that's part of
It's getting
the
to be a
other
working
thing.
thing.
You know, I mean, I guess if you guys are okay with the checking account and the funds that we set aside for the city to be put in that account for those purchases, then, you know, me and Jamie can start working on that. I will let you know that, it will be a 2-signature deal on all checks. I mean, whether it's me on the checking account and Jamie or whoever, president of the land bank and Jamie, but it'll take 2 signatures on all checks. But the ones I met with today also, you know, they felt like maybe this small group of people and a few others would be the committee that helps the land bank. And what they would like to do is they would like to be able to meet with the president, whether it's me or whoever it might be next year, on all this property stuff, and then it's brought to the council and the land bank to finalize it and make the decision, yes or no.
On any decision, basically, anything.
Kinda like the zoning board, yes, yeah.
your zoning board people are all appointed. These are
They're
just
appointed.
volunteers.
These are volunteers, you know. I
That
mean,
group, it sounds like it could be fluid, somebody could leave, come
come
back.
and go, but they would rather meet with one person from the land bank instead of 5 or 6 or 7 of them coming here and then the land bank meeting taking 3 hours. They would rather meet outside the land bank meeting and have the president bring it back to the land bank and present it. Kinda like they've done with the grocery store committee.
I don't have a problem with that.
So just 5 people, do you have other people? You said you had 3 people?
There's at least 3 and maybe more. There's more involved, and they said, you know, the more of them, they would all meet.
5 of them, I think.
Well, I think there's more than 5.
More than 5 gets things out of hand in meetings.
I don't think you wanna put a limit on it because these are the
If
people.
you-
that
These are the
stepping
people
up.
that are stepping up and acting as a middle person for probably trying to get properties bought in town.
You don't want it to become like a city sanction or a land bank sanction group, but these are just people that are giving advice to Marshall, Marshall's bringing it
Right.
to the city. that's different, but we start forming a committee and dictating what they're doing and, you know, how large they are and stuff, then we're subject to, then there's an entity of city and we're subject to open meetings and open records and that kind of thing. He's not, at least how I understand, you're not making any kind of promises or suggestions.
No,
They're the people that know where money is, know where
they know where.
property
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and then what.
And some of them feel that maybe them talking to some of these people that have these houses and stuff, they might get further than a city employee or city council pushing them to get rid of it, per se. You know, we send them a letter and then we say, well, you can donate it to us. Whereas they may say, you know, we'd like to help you, maybe offer you some money for it, or.
Yeah, Hudson's got a group like that, and I don't even know who's behind it, but, you know, they've been working with Carolyn to, well, it's separate from what Carolyn's doing there, but they've got something similar that they kind of pool their money together and they buy out people.
And that's what these people are doing, and like I said, they've got a lot of people that are willing to donate money and time, even help cleaning them up, time and equipment, so I think it's good that we kind of put that committee together, and, I mean, for the time being, until you guys reappoint some new president next year.
Yeah, no problem with it.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. And then if we do something as far as the checking account and purchasing properties, do you guys want every property before it's purchased to come to you if someone, or do you want to set a spending limit on a property? I mean, if these guys go out and they make contact and somebody says, well, I'd sell it to you for $1,000, do you want to wait 2 weeks? Do you want to try to have a special meeting, or do you want to give Jamie and the president authority to spend $1,000 on a property?
I can spend $1,000 on a property now.
What I told Marshall is, you know, I can't move in an hour, but one of the things you'd want to do is make sure that there's clear title, and that's something that I can check. It's just, you know, I can't drop.
There's surely not a flood of them coming that we can't be kept in the loop, is there? Or am I missing something on that?
Well, I think there could be.
Oh, really? We're definitely gonna need to get another committee together to handle that if it gets that out of hand.
I mean, right now, there's 5 individuals that are ready to go to work tomorrow on trying to get some of these properties acquired and cleaned up.
I'm game to have a special meeting. I guess I'd like to be in the loop. That's just my.
Can it be to where it just comes, like, they report to you, you report it to me, and then I can disperse it out as extra information, and then, because John's gonna need time to get the clear title.
If you direct me and say, hey, we're gonna have a special meeting, can you run up and check title on something? You have the authority to do that. I can do that, have it ready for the special meeting. That way, if they vote to accept it on the special meeting, you're right. We're not then having to wait for me to do title.
I don't think there's a problem with just having a special meeting, you know, if it gets completely out of hand that we're having like 2 every week, I mean, yeah, but we'll just start with a special meeting.
Okay.
Everybody will be in the loop, go from there. Whatever be in favor.
Yeah.
And how does the land bank actually have to call for a special meeting, or how does that work,
Would
John?
it just be a land bank meeting?
Well, those laws are so archaic. I think it says, the ordinance says the mayor and 2 other people for the city, right? Something like that. And we've all just, mayor and city administrator have always just called special meetings. So I think it's fine if Marshall says, since this is the practice, Jamie, can you work to see what time everybody's available? We have a quorum with the land bank for special meetings. Yeah, it can be called separate. You don't have to call a city meeting. You just, but you have to.
Right, just a land bank.
Just land
You
bank.
have
not
to
a
do the
council
agenda.
meeting,
But
but
then
a land
I'd be
bank.
okay with that, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Because it might be one of them things that, you know, Friday, we might have to meet Saturday for 10 minutes just to, yep, we'll do it. Or whatever, you know, in the week. I can't foresee that if it's just purchasing a piece of property, everything will be in black and white before you guys. So just a yay or a nay before we do it.
for me.
So the only other thing, I do need a ten-minute executive session for preliminary discussion of the acquisition of real property, which would be everybody at the table and Kyle.
So,
Should we be excused? Will you need us later on this evening, or can we be excused?
I don't,
Do you guys want Jeff?
I don't think so.
I think you guys are all
Yep.
okay.
Thank you.
Don't you have any executive session?
Thanks for coming, I guess.
We're gonna take the money out of his, we're gonna take the Christmas bonus out of the police department next year.
We're not.
It's already decided.
We're gonna go ahead and fight.
To reconvene
You
at
guys just don't listen.
8:35. Did I had a motion? Second?
Yeah, we had a motion and a second.
All in favor? We'll reconvene at 8:35.
Hold on, just a second.
Call land bank meeting back to order.
Make a motion to give the land bank president, Marshall Sanders, authority to acquire discussed property at his discretion.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Passes. With no other business, entertain a motion to adjourn the land bank meeting.
So moved.
Can somebody speak during the land bank meeting?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to bring up, and I mean, I'm probably talking out of my lane on this real quick, but we were just out here discussing, you know, we're discussing the homes of how run down they are, the dilapidation and all of that, and the money, the write-offs that we're doing on taxes and things like that. Is there a point where the city, and maybe this is already happening, but a point where the city is working with the county and other cities in there to maybe look for any land outside the city that would be for sale, that we can start looking at businesses coming in? Because the thing is, you know, we were talking about it, it's got to be a uniform together. You can't build houses in here. You know, we can have all these lots and we can do these things, but if there's no jobs here, it doesn't matter. We're going to clean up the town a little bit, yes, and that needs to be done. For, like I've told you guys before on this, the broken window effect. But we're not going to get anything in it because there's no jobs that nobody's going to be able to afford. I mean, we heard tonight, which was pretty outstanding, and I'm glad I got to listen to the poverty level in the city or in the county and where we stand in the state and everything like that. But if we don't bring in some businesses and we don't do something, it's just going to keep going. We can't survive off of just the residential tax base and the electricity and all. I mean, you know, the bedroom communities were great in the 80s, and Valley Center was the same way in Park City, and we were explaining that out there. Valley Center didn't want to do anything. We didn't acquire any property or nothing, and we stayed exactly the way we were. And Park City, who's the neighboring town, that every time me and the wife go through there, there's more and more businesses going up. And I'm not saying it's going to go metropolitan, but we're not going to get anybody moved in here, and we're not going to increase the tax base, we're not going to increase the revenue in the city or the county if we don't really try to put some effort in to bringing anything in. Because farming's just dying, everybody knows that. I mean, it's always going to be here, but it's not even what it was when I was in school. I mean, it's just, you know, the farmers are not hiring that many hired hands and doing all that anymore because they just can't afford it. You know, it's rough on the farmers now. But I just didn't know on the land bank deal then, if there's an opportunity that we work with the county or something and we find, you know, if we call a business and say, hey, what would it take for you guys to bring in a manufacturing deal here or something? They say, well, we need 100 acres and a tax abatement or whatever, you know, and it's something that we can work out and say, hey, well, we just happen to have 100 acres in our land bank deal, you know, between the county and the city and all. Because even if it's in the county, it's going to benefit our city. And I think that the city needs to work with the county on stuff because that's going to increase our homes. That's going to be able, the property that Land Bank has bought, be able to sell that and somebody can build a house on it. Because nobody can afford to do those things right now. So I'm afraid they're just going to set, and we've kind of cleaned it up, but now we've become more desolate, not run down. but just desolate because we have these empty lots around. And you know, and I'm looking as a department head for my own self of hiring people in and having a place for them to stay. We talked about, you know, if I have an officer that I want to hire from Garden City and it's him and his wife, and they move out here because they want to take this job, so they're looking at it, his wife is going to have to drive, or their spouse, I guess, I won't say wife, the spouse is going to have to look at least a 30-minute drive in any direction, minimum one way, just to find another job. Well, when it comes to that point, and they're just like, yeah, it just isn't worth moving, you know I got a decent job here and I've been there for a while, we're just going to have to pass, sorry. And I just think that it's important for our town and our community if we can maybe try to work with the county or do something to where maybe we can acquire some of this property that's out in the county and we can open it up for businesses.
I'll add to that. I think there's an attorney general opinion, or even maybe a League of Municipality opinion, that the St. John Land Bank isn't limited to buying properties in St. John. You could hold
You can
properties.
purchase them anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that does to that elimination of the tax, property tax, if there's a tax lien on it. But there seems to be no prohibition to the actual city of St. John Land Bank owning property outside the city of St. John.
I just, you know, as we were sitting out there discussing it while you guys in your executive session, and you know, and I want to see the town grow too, you know, and I want to see the housing get better, and I want to, you know, especially pull us up from 77th out of 105 counties. You know, it'd be nice to go up, but there's only one way we can do that, and that's to try and expand and bring in a business, because farming isn't going to get better. It's going to stay where it's at. It's a struggle for farmers now, and you know, we're losing people. Youth is going, there's nothing for them. You know, everybody in high school had a farm job during the summertime. Now, the kind of what I'm seeing is it's basically just the farmers' kids are working for the parents, and there's not a whole lot. I mean, even the town kids went to work for some farmer out in the country all summer long and on the weekends. So, you know, I just think we need to look at trying to grow. I mean, we're doing what we can do to make the city better, but I think that, you know, it was just my opinion that I thought maybe we need to look at trying to bring things in. I mean, there's companies out there looking for space. I mean,
Part of the problem is people don't want to work.
No, I agree, and that might bring it in.
We can bring in all the business we want, but if people aren't going to work and the jobs are...
No, I totally agree
like,
with you. Yeah,
I mean,
it was just
I don't know
in
that
a...
the grocery store can keep people.
Yeah.
I would completely agree. Like, I have the exact same things ran in my head since I've got on. But the thing is, like, it takes some serious commitment of somebody. And this is what I was thinking about, taking my time to call around people and not promise anything, but say, hey, we got some ground here. Are you willing to come to us? It takes a lot of work, and I was wanting to bring it to you guys and see if Jamie had the time to call around. She's ambitious about the future of the city and doing it. It takes a lot of work. That's why I haven't brought it up. But I think, what if there was a committee for that specifically?
Maybe the same committee that,
You know, but
The
this
same
is what,
committee that did the grocery store?
well, or the committee that's willing to work for the land bank of property acquisition, and maybe,
And I want to say how important it is to remember that we have Stafford County Economic Development. And I mean, that is what they do.
Well, and that's why I was just saying, somebody
So
work with
us-
the county.
Right, us reaching out and partnering, or however it needs to be done, because I do think Carolyn has several ideas, if not irons already in the fire, with, not saying that there's a business coming to town or anything, but I know that she works diligently on several of these things and getting her on
Buying
board.
some land, putting it on the website under the land bank that this is available and that there may be deals on it though.
I just thought, you know, we have a stake in the game of having empty lots that the land bank is spending money on, and we're tearing down houses and they're open. What are we gonna do with them when they're just sitting there? You know, I think we have an iron in the fire to work with the county in other cities in the county and say, hey, what do we do? Because even if the business doesn't come to St. John, it's still gonna benefit us in the long run, because people are gonna look for housing. You know, they're gonna have to buy something. So it benefits us either way, as long as it was in our county even.
a 10-mile trip to Stafford's better than a 30-mile trip to Prater or
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
But I mean,
And
we
it was
have
just a
15
thought.
acres out here already
Yeah.
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 for this purpose. So I'm completely like on board with what you're saying, but it's not easy. It takes some serious commitment from certain people and a lot of phone calls. So we need to do something about it.
It does. I just brought it up because I thought, you know, we have a stake in the game. We're spending a lot of time and a lot of money, and you have a lot of special meetings, and you're going to have all of this. I just like it to see it go somewhere, not just always having a meeting and the property just sitting because we've not progressed to where we can sell it or build something on
We
it.
wanna see all the hard work bear fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it benefits us all.
Do you guys think
Wholeheartedly
having
agree.
Carolyn come to the next meeting and talk with us? If Jamie could kind of put her on board with what we were looking at doing? Or not.
I think Jamie's dead right, isn't that what Carolyn's doing? I mean, I don't wanna say all the time, but
I've
that's,
spoke a lot with Carolyn as far as housing and stuff like that, and she's applied for a lot of grants now. She didn't get very many of them, if any.
Well, our poverty rate in St. John is not as low as the rest of the county either. So, like Marshall and I were talking about the $125,000 that Stafford just got. St. John wouldn't have qualified for that because our poverty rate,
Yeah, they're
And
like
a lot
a
of-
federal zone of some sort.
a lot of the grants that we would love to look at
Are based off of that
are
right
based
there.
off of the poverty, and then you have people that don't fill out the census correctly, or they don't want to give out correct information, and then you're sitting there having to do, like the First Street when they had to go do all of those questionnaires or whatever and prove it wrong. Like, it'd be an entire town. We'd have to go door to door to prove the census wrong.
I didn't mean to make the meeting go longer.
No.
It's a great idea, and that's what I'm getting at. I don't want to just drop this issue.
It's a good idea.
And I know Carolyn's doing it, I agree, and all that. I just think that if we as a city help and say, look, we'll, if it's a land bank that says, hey, we'll help, we'll do this, it's not just you doing it all, because we have that vested interest in it too, that if you have a couple more people with some eyes and a phone, and, we can.
Well, I can reach out to her and just tell her the council's on board.
With whatever she needs.
Yeah.
And we have 15
I mean-
acres out there, or whatever it is now.
Are you talking about where we're gonna put the
Industrial.
truck?
Yeah, but and I'm kind of moving beyond my role as an attorney, is how do people know there's 15 acres available?
They don't.
That's what I'm saying. We reach out, say we got this land, we're willing to have
turning into a
incentives
truck
for you,
parking lot.
taxes. I
You
mean,
got the land bank tab under the website, can it be transferred to land bank and put in that tab? So if somebody's looking, Hutchinson and Kansas City, Kansas, they have websites where if you wanna buy from the land bank, you go to the website.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to Carolyn and have some discussions.
Good.
anything else for land bank?
You gave me off on Tuesday, and now you're adding to my list.
it's a really important issue, guys.
Yeah.
It really is. That land is gonna sit there. Nobody takes an incentive on it.
Is that where we're putting the truck parking?
Well, part of it. That's why I said not quite the whole 15 acres or whatever it
Move
is.
to adjourn.
Yeah. Do I have a
so
motion?
moved.
Yeah.
Motion, second, all in favor? All opposed? Land bank meeting is adjourned.
Okay. Reopen the regular city council meeting. Okay, I guess all we have is executive sessions left. So,
John, on the first one,
The acquisition.
should I have had him talk about that under new business?
Are we talking about A?
Uh-huh.
I have no idea
Under
what
new
that's about.
business.
Yeah, I don't know if we can,
Yes, we can.
I don't know if you can.
We'll do it till John says we can.
What we talked about was the Toots thing, Toots property.
Yeah,
This is different.
yeah, I know. Bonus? Does that spark your,
No,
okay.
I've
Whatever.
gotten like 4 hours of sleep in 3 days though, so.
So excited
Yeah.
to have a kid.
Just 5 minutes
Okay.
on the first one. To include everybody sitting at the table.
Should've bumped you up to the top.
You're all right. Nope, I'm good. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, I've got a 5-minute executive session. Do I have, and I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll resume the meeting at 8:54.
They're not.
We can move them
You
up.
don't, they can't physically do it.
Call this meeting back to order.
Physically do that.
Okay, let's
They
see.
still use the shoes and stuff?
We have an executive session for consultation with attorney for the body, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. John,
Got it out of the book.
assuming this is yours, how much time do you need?
Is this bonus too? I don't know.
Email.
Oh, this relates to overtime hours? 7 minutes.
So moved. Second.
This will never work.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll resume at 9:01. Okay,
Do you feed him like?
call this meeting back to order. Okay, we have another executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. Who do we need in that?
Do you need 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah, 5 minutes, just everybody at the table.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. We will resume at 9:07. Call this meeting back to order.
I'd make a motion to move Officer Tory to $17 an hour, effective this last 16th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Please congratulate Officer Perez on my behalf and the rest of council, please.
Yes, I will do. Yeah.
Thank you.
That'd be good.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next executive session, discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel. Who is this?
This is,
We haven't done this one though, right?
This one?
Yeah, got 2 left.
We got, well, we've got 3 actually.
no, we only got 2 left. Oh, we got this one and then her 3-minute one.
Okay.
Who do you want at this one, Jamie? Everybody here?
For how long? We're doing the
15?
Yeah.
15? So moved.
Second.
It's a good thing I ate my sandwich.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. We will resume the meeting at 9:23.
Who's motion?
Me.
I'm still looking for a middle name if you have a suggestion.
What'd they say, you didn't realize how many people you don't like until you try to name a kid?
Okay, call this meeting back to order.
Very true.
I would make a motion to allow Jamie the authority to pay out up to 69 hours of vacation to Jeff Williamson if needed.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
And then I would make a motion for a 3-minute executive session for non-elected
Elected personnel.
personnel to include who? Everybody at the table.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll resume at 9:27.
Yeah.
Call this meeting back to order.
I was gonna say, if you need a calendar, you can take some.
What's motion?
I'd make a motion to approve Jamie to carry over 136 hours next year of her vacation in case she needs it after maternity leave.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, having no more business to conduct this evening, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
What is it? January, the first month of the first grade?